In this video tutorial, I will show and explain how to make a copy of a portrait painted by a famous Dutch artist, Johannes Vermeer. This portrait is one of the most famous paintings in the world, and it takes a lot of responsibility to paint it. The original portrait was painted in oils on canvas, but in this video I will make it in another technique, pastels on paper. The easiest way to start your drawing is shading the big spots. Right now I'm covering the half of the face with one tone, dark brown, because it is in the shadow. After I put some dark strokes on the side plane of the head, I go on with the same pencil and shade the neck. I do it because all the planes which are turned away from the light source are in the shadow, and that is why we must remember that the light comes from the left upper corner. Continue to follow this idea and shade the core shadow area on the clothes. We are making the first layer, and you can use any other dark color like carbon black, amber burnt, or sienna burnt. If you are painting with oils, the first layer is called underpainting. I recommend making it very thin with one color like amber burnt and pure turpentine. The side plane of the nose is turned away from the light, and therefore it is in the shadow. The same dark brown helps me to shade that area. And now we can see that the head begins to look volumetric, because we added the shadows and the paper works as the lights of the painting. I always advise my students to begin drawing and painting from big spots of light and shadow. It is a simple way, even for beginners, to construct the head's volume. The other way is drawing region by region, and it is much more difficult, because then you have to keep in mind a lot of things like proportions, resemblance, and construction. Shading the backgrounds around the head will help to point out the lights of the face. I'm using charcoal for that. When working on the background around the face, try to correct the face silhouette. Carefully emphasize the forehead bone shape, the eye bone socket, and the cheekbone area. The darkest spot of the eye is the black dot in the center of the iris, called the pupil. You can make them completely black. The iris is lighter and may have different tints from person to person. I always tell my students to start painting from making a really good drawing, and only after that to begin using colors. The other way around doesn't make a lot of sense. If you find the right colors, your painting risks falling apart anyways, if there is no strong drawing foundation. That is why you should spend more time drawing. You will see that your painting will progress much faster when the proportions fit the original picture. Make sure the details have right places and the whole drawing isn't falling apart. Only after that I would put in colors without any worries. When you start to draw, it is very important to outline all the details with the right proportions, and the easiest way is by comparing them with each other. For example, when drawing a nostril, compare it with the whole nose. When working on the eye, compare the size of the iris with the whole eye. Compare a small detail with a bigger detail. I recommend to print out the picture you are working from in the size of your paper or canvas and have it next to your work, so you will be able to literally measure the proportions of your work with the original ones. If you find any mistake, correct it right away. As we are working on a portrait, we have to make it alive. Resemblance means the right proportions, right colors and shapes. Do not forget to correct the big silhouette of the head once in a while. It matters when we are talking about the resemblance, because first of all we see big forms, and only after that we go down to details. Vermeer's task was more difficult. He had to find the character of the model, and of course make the portrait look alike. We should just make a copy of his masterpiece, and learn how to draw the head. I'm using the Prussian blue pencil for the light of the show. I suggest to simply painting that area with one color like I did, and later on add additional colors like ultramarine and a little white to finish it. You can note that I prefer to start working with basic colors and add once in a while 1-2 extra tones to finish details. I am darkening the shadow on the shawl with charcoal, roughly putting some quick strokes over there. We need a dark spot to find the right balance of dark and light. To make a long story short, we need to find out how dark the shadows are compared to the lights. That is why I highly recommend to find one color which is very close to the semitones of the painting. This way will help you to draw faster and avoid common mistakes. I know it sounds complicated and you maybe never heard about it, but working on a realistic image you have to follow some rules. Here is one of them. Every shadow has a reflection inside. It comes from the subjects around. For example, the left cheek has an obvious reflection from the white color. The earring has the same reflection too. If you ignore them and paint the shadows simply dark, you will notice that they look flat. The portrait has no tonal depth and aerial perspective. At the end of the lesson, I would like to sum up and make things more clear, because I know for many beginners all I said above sounds too hard, and that is okay. We all need time and experience to accept new information. So no worries, guys. Just start with the simple stuff and you will improve your skills very soon. The first step is a drawing. This is the most important part of the painting. Spend time and try to make as much as possible on this stage. Draw the big silhouettes firstly and measure the proportions. Make sure they match the original painting. Do not forget about composition. Do not make the head too small or too big. It should look fine on the canvas. Composition means a lot in any artwork. Do not place the head right in the center. Give more space in front of the look. Our task is much easier than Vermeer's, because we should copy his painting, and Vermeer painted it from a real model. We're looking for the character, colors, and composition. We know that the old masters used a few paints, a limited palette. For beginners, it would be a good experience to have several basic colors on the palette. Actually, you don't need a lot of paints to work over this portrait. The old masters are based on an absolutely wonderful drawing. The colors are a nice addition to it. Today, we try to get closer to the one of the most famous paintings in the world. I hope you enjoyed the whole process and understood that it is very helpful to work from the masterpieces of the past. I hope you were inspired by my video and will keep on working. I wish you a lot of joy on your artistic way.